Hi everyone, my name is Adam and welcome in my new video. Today we're gonna use the other one of the movements I bought. It is VK63 movement from Seiko, and we're going to build a Royal Oak chronograph today. All the parts I ordered directly from AliExpress, so let's get started. So I'm just starting with the stem. That's the easiest way to check what hour we have and to set the date and everything. So it will just help us to build the watch. And first, just a quick check that all the positions work as it should. And there is no surprises in the movement itself. Next step is the dial. The dial is prepared for this specific movement, so the feet are in the right position, so it's just a matter to put it on the movement and then push it in. It is friction fitted, so no screws or stuff like that. Just align it properly and then gently press it down to make sure it is in place. As you can see, I did 3D print a special holder for this movement. That should just make life easier. Let's set the time to the midnight, and as a reference we use the date disk, and we just check when it will just jump over to the next day. That means we are at midnight. And there it goes. I'm going to push the crown in so I will not change the time accidentally. And now we can just go on with the hands. I started here with the seconds hand, the small one at 6 o'clock position. You can also see I'm using the special tweezers with wooden tips. That's because I don't want to scratch the dial immediately, as I did actually in the beginning of this channel. Here you can see I was fighting a bit with this pusher from the press. It's very cheap part, and I think it's time to change it to something a bit more professional, if we can say so. But let's push the seconds hand down and proceed with the other ones. And here I will of course go with the big hands now. It will be the hours hand, the minutes hand, and the last one will be the chronograph long seconds hand. So let's go with the hours hand. It's the biggest post here, so it's the easiest one to install. It's not too long also, so I can still use the tweezers and this plastic pusher from the press, hands press, that I actually use sometimes. But in this case, as I was first time using this 3D printed holder, it occurred that the holder is a bit too tall and it doesn't fit the press. First try didn't work out quite well. It was a bit crooked and off the time, or off the 12 o'clock, and I wanted to have it perfectly. So I had to adjust it and then press it once again. And this time it ended up quite well. A small adjustment to have it flat. You see it's a bit going upwards at the end. Now it's there, and we can proceed with the minutes hand. That one is a bit longer, so I was using Rodico instead. it is kind of a special clay that watchmakers are using for picking up stuff or cleaning. It makes life easier. As you could see, I could hold the hand with it. In the end, I had another idea there, and I used actually microscope to put the hand on, just to be sure that everything works. So now let's check when the date is changing. And we can see it starts to change around 11 and then switches exactly like a minute or 2 minutes before midnight. And I think that's kind of good for such movement. So let's go on now with the chronograph hand, the seconds hand. It's a very long thin needle, and the post is actually a square. The hole in the on the needle post is round, and the first time you put it there, it actually changes the shape. So later on, when you press on the zeroing button on the chronograph and it goes with kind of big force back, it will not slip on the post. So in this case, it is actually kind of a lot of force you have to use to press it down. So you have to be very, very careful to put it the right way at the first try. You can actually see it in my previous video that I didn't get it really straight. It annoys me, but I'm still waiting for the new set of hands. It is actually kind of funny that all the watches that I built here, I'm actually wearing them. So now it's the next hand, the small one, on the 3 o'clock position. And that one is a bit weird because the dial has only 12 markings, 12 hours, and that hand is actually 24 hour on this movement. But when I ordered the dial, I didn't check it, and apparently, yeah, they write that it's a dial for VK63, so you assume that, yeah, it will fit. But, yeah, it fits, but it's not marked correctly. And now the last hand now, the hand for the chronograph, for the minutes. As all the hands, of course you want that one also to be straight as possible. And once again, this huge press doesn't help me. It's not perfect, but I had to work with what I had. But anyway, what do you think about the dial? Because for me it looks really, really nice. The colors, the engravings, everything look really good. But now the movement is ready, so we can set it aside and we can start with the case. We have to prepare it a bit. I have to say that the case was a bit problematic, especially the screws that hold the bracelet to the case, because the screws were okay, but the tabs in the case, they were trash. So that's why you see the bracelet is already there, and I'm not removing that one to put the movement in. I'll just open the bracelet and leave it as it is. So now let's remove all the 8 screws from the bottom, and then we can put the movement in, the battery in, and adjust the stem. I have to say it's funny feeling to unscrew all those screws, because it's so unusual. Now let's put aside all the screws and we can start with the whole procedure. So let's remove the white movement holder, blow a bit dust off, and then we can clean it with special microfiber cloth. Then once again a bit of air, and we are ready to put the movement in. Of course, before we put the movement in, it's a good idea to remove the stem. To remove the stem in this movement, there is a special push button, we can call it. You have to push it and then pull at the stem. The stem has to be in the 0 position to do it. It is a bit tricky though, with only 2 hands. Well, yeah, let's switch them. Put the movement on the pad and then we should just put the case over it, but it won't work because the case is a bit curved and I couldn't do it. So let's flip it around again and put the movement inside. For me, the easiest was to put the side of the chronograph buttons first, so they will not interfere too much, and then just wiggle it in a bit with the wooden tweezers, of course. And now when the movement sits in the case, I want to stabilize it so it doesn't move when I'm putting the movement holder in. And that's why I'm putting the stem back in, even it's not prepared. But before we put the movement holder, it's time for the battery. And here you can see with the battery comes a special information that you have to reset whole circuit with the AC point and the plus side of the battery. Here you can see it. So first let's put the battery in. Of course, it's always good to check or triple check that you put it the right way. In this case, it's the plus side up. And now the latch is closed, so it's time to reset the circuit. And as you see, I'm using regular metal tweezers that will conduct the electricity between the AC point and now the battery. And that's it. So now the movement holder, and then we can adjust the stem when the movement is held properly in the case. So now the stem. I'm using a regular caliper to just measure the distance between the crown and the case. And preferably crown should be pressed in, as it will be later on. So now, out with the stem again, remove the crown, measure everything once again on the stem, and just, as always, measure 3 times at least, and cut once, because if you cut too short, that's it. You cannot redo it. It's better to cut to too small amount than too much. And here it is, the stem is ready. First try was a bit too long, so I had to adjust it once again. And now it's perfect. You can see it screws down all the way and it will be tight also. So now it's time for the back. Check the O-ring that is there, that it's not destroyed or damaged by any chance. And then it's just a matter of 8 screws. And this time when I'm screwing down the screws, I'm trying to use a crisscross pattern. So I'm not going one by one in one direction, but just going across the plate. So hopefully the O-ring will not go bad. And now when I missed one screw, as you can see in the front of the watch here, let's try to put the bracelet back in one piece. It's not a very hard task. It's just a screw that you have to put through the bracelet and then screw it down. And that's it. Here it is. Look, it looks really good. I really enjoyed that build, and the colors of the dial are amazing. The case also looks quite good. It's good quality. The threads were a bit funky there on the bracelet screws, but overall I'm happy. You can see here the chronograph function works as it should. It starts, it stops, and the seconds hand stays in place. That's very important. And that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the process, because I did. If you enjoyed the videos, please consider subscribing and liking them. That helps a lot. Here you can see it on my wrist. The case is quite big. It's almost 47 millimeters with the crown, but it wears really nice. Once again, thank you for today, and see you in the next video.